rise.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you so much, God, for this beautiful day that you've given us. We pray that as we come together and discuss business tonight, God, that you would give us wisdom and give us guidance as to what you would have us do and what your will is for the school district. God, I just pray for each and every teacher and staff member and all those who are involved daily in the school district. God, I pray that you give them strength to do their jobs, and God, I pray that you give them wisdom as they guide the future leaders of tomorrow. And God, I pray that we would remember that as we discuss this business tonight, God, that the decisions that we make are not only affecting these students now, but God, it's affecting them forever. And God, I just pray that you would once again be with us as we meet tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Call the order, establish a quorum.
We do that. I want to welcome our two remaining members who were in the runoffs. We have Mr. Gullich on the far left, and Ms. Tenenberg for joining us for the first time this evening. So welcome. Thank you. We have an interesting start to the evening, and that is we're going to draw for terms. So because of the election process and rezoning and all of that, everybody had to rerun, and that means that we have to draw for terms of length of service. You cannot have more than 2 board members at one time run for election, so we're avoiding that and following the procedures. So what we have here is 7 envelopes. I'm just going to go around. You'll pick one and we'll start at the end. Okay. Start at the end. We will. I'll ask you to open it up, read out what your length of term is and what year it ends. It has a place for you to sign and to date, and then I'll review it to make sure that I've correctly written it down, and then I'll collect them from you. Okay?
Yeah, I got those.
Oh, okay. We can start here and go around if that's okay.
2-year term.
Okay?
5-year term.
5-year term.
3-year term.
4-year term. 2-year term.
4-year term.
3-year.
Sorry. So I have Mr. Steve Overshane has a 2-year term. Mr. Nick Wilson has a 5-year term. Mr. Josh Overshane has a 3-year term. Ms. Connie Tenenberg, 4-year. Ms. Whitney Comer, a 2-year. Mr. Dwayne Glenn, a 4-year. And Mr. Bobby Ray Gulledge, a 3-year. Is that the way that it's reported? Yes.
You'll take the envelope.
That's it. We have now gotten there. Now we are looking at our, we need to select officers for this upcoming board. Last meeting, we did temporary board secretary, board president, and fiduciary agent. At this time, we need to add a vice president to that list of people that we have. This can be done basically one of 3 different ways. You can make a motion to keep the 2 or the people that you had in place in the same role. So that would be Mr. Steve Obenshane as president, Mr. Nick Wilson as secretary, and Mr. Josh Obenshane as fiduciary agent. And then you'd have to add a vice president to that list as part of that motion. You can also, you can make a motion, somebody can make a motion for listing out all of those positions and different people, or you can do them individually. So that is.
I have a question. I
Sure.
saw that it said you didn't have to have a secretary, and I remember in the past, a long time ago, like the secretary does not have to be on the board. And it was somebody, usually like whoever your administrative assistant was, or somebody to keep up with all of that. Have we been doing it?
We have been doing it as far as there's been a board secretary. Now, our treasurer usually takes the minutes of the meetings, which is the main duty of our of the board secretary. So, but you're right, it does not say, it does say it does not have to be a board member.
I just figured it'd probably be better if it wasn't. That would be very more accurate maybe.
Okay.
So
And that is fine with me. We can just do a president and vice president.
and we don't have to have a
Fiduciary agent, I mean, it's already, yes, we will, but in the next 2 things that we do the distributing officers, that's pretty much the same thing.
Well.
I'm gonna make a motion.
I make a motion for Whitney Comer to be our president.
You got a second? I'll second it.
You have to take a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we have to raise our hand.
All opposed? Motion passes 6-1.
Okay. Whitney is president. So technically, she should come over, take over.
You can borrow the pen.
Gonna be a feature.
Next, we need a motion for a vice president.
Make a motion, Josh Obenshane be vice president.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we got a first and a second. All 4? Aye. Any opposed?
Motion carried. Josh.
I can say my spot, right? Yes, okay, just make sure.
And as far as a secretary, need not be a member of the board of directors, but you still need to, you need to state that out loud. If you don't want it to be somebody on the board, you need to, would they say, somebody
Well,
on staff, or do they need to name?
The motion would be to nominate somebody. The statute does say that the secretary does not have to be a member of the board. Oftentimes I see boards having someone be the nominal secretary, but then it's a staff function to actually do the minutes. And so that might relieve some of y'all to know that you might not have to do the minutes. But I do think it helps to have someone who's available, because oftentimes the secretary will sign documents to acknowledge the signature of the president. And so
Contracts.
whether it needs to be a board member or not, statute says it doesn't, but my preference would be that it is, especially since you have staff that's gonna take the minutes. I think the secretary role is more in line with the title, not necessarily doing a lot of groundwork.
I make a motion that Nick Wilson as secretary.
I'll second that.
All for? Any opposed?
Okay, so we have Ms. Comer as our president, Mr. Josh Overchain as our vice president, and Mr. Nick Wilson as our secretary. We'll get your signatures on some stuff eventually, pretty quick. So the next item on this part of the agenda is to appoint or select or designate our distributing officer. Dispersing, sorry, I said distributing, dispersing officer and our alternate dispersing officer. This is basically, the same as person who would authorize checks and things like that. It's generally your president and vice president. You can make a motion to make those two entities the dispersing and the alternate dispersing if you want to, or you can select somebody else, but in general, it is your president and vice president.
I'll make a motion, president, vice president.
Any second?
I'll second it.
All for? Any opposed?
Okay, and then the last is basically the resolution that we have to submit to the county for this. And I will fill it out and it will be sent to them by there. It's not, it doesn't have to be approved. It's just, I want you to be aware of what we're sending.
Technically speaking, the motion you made is the resolution, not
Right.
just a piece of paper to
Right.
certify it to the county treasurer.
Section 2.
I thought they would act as the
But we're not gonna have to do it the
fiduciary.
fiduciary, is it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
I do not, I think that took the place of it.
Alright, good.
Okay, second item, or section 2.
So do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All opposed, or all
Sorry.
for? Oh, I don't have-
Agenda.
So I don't have to do all that?
You don't have to do each one. The consent agenda covers all of those. Sorry, I should have said that.
So we're good to go on? Or-
And you would want a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Yeah.
I would word it that way.
Oh, okay. I need a motion to approve the agenda as it is presented.
Okay, sorry.
All for? Any opposed?
Okay, now we're moving on to the special report. We have Ms. Sherry Plumley. She's going to provide us some information.
For those of you who do not know me, as new board members, welcome to the school board. Welcome to an exciting job. Having been a school board member myself, obviously not with the Huntsville School District, but you have dove off into the deep end of the ocean. But it is also, it's also a good thing. because you will learn a lot of things that, that you didn't realize that go on in education, that have to go on in education. So it's a good learning experience. But I'm your high school nurse. I'm the only registered nurse in the district. We do have 5 nurses. We are very fortunate in this district that the administration here feels like that every campus needs a nurse, okay? And I think that's great, because for the most of us sitting here in this room, a lot of us didn't have a nurse when we were in school. And we won't talk about when that was, that we were in school and we didn't have a nurse. But, a lot of things have changed over the years as to when we were in school and we didn't have nurses. But, here are a few things that we deal with on a daily basis now. We have kids in our school with asthma, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, depression, anxiety, life-threatening allergic reactions. They take daily medications, multiple medications, tube feedings, insulin pumps, and wound care. We're required by law to do health screenings. I know some parents feel like that when we send out the letters that we're going to do hearing and vision or scoliosis or BMI, that, we're just kind of picking on kids, and that, we're just doing this, but there are actually statutes that say that, we have to do these. Kids can't learn if they're not healthy. If they can't hear and they can't see, they can't learn. And so we do have to do age-appropriate health screenings. And then we also have to evaluate their immunizations. And of course, that's a big battle that we deal with every year. And those statutes are not set by us, those are set by the Arkansas Department of Health. And so that's a kind of a battle that we deal with as well. But in addition to all of those things, here are a few more things that we dealt with last year. We had head injuries, we had fractures, we had eye injuries, we had sprains, we had psychiatric injuries, we had respiratory emergencies, we had pregnancies, we had mental health counseling, and last but most certainly not least, we had COVID. Okay? This is my COVID book from last year. Okay? For those who don't know, every time there was a positive case of COVID that was reported, and Ms. Tinberg can attest to this, if a student tested positive for COVID, the school nurse had to figure out where that student sat in class, who was around them, who all they were around, and it took hours. And all that information is in this book. And the nurses spent hours on that. That was above and beyond what we normally do with our students. But beyond that, we're also here for the adult staff. We check blood pressures. We educate on new disease processes that our adult staff have. There are new medications. Give first aid. Work with workers' comp. When someone falls or whatever that they may need us. Our nurses also teach CPR. Currently, the Huntsville High School, we certify all of our seniors when they leave at graduation. They are certified in CPR and first aid. And this year we will start certifying the seniors at St. Paul. The nurse there has not been able to teach, but this year she's going to be able to do that. So we're going to certify those students this year. And so this year we had 12,876 visits that were for various reasons that they came to see us. 4 of those resulted in an ambulance being called to pick up someone. Now, we call the ambulance a lot just to come and check things out for us, just to make sure that everything's cool. And yes, they know where the nurse's office are, particularly at the high school. And 10 of those were sent home, were sent to get medical attention elsewhere. Of those, also 1,088 were sent home. And that gives an 8.4% that went back to class. Okay? When there's not a nurse on your campus, the rate of kids going home is greater than 20%. So having a nurse on your campus and keeping that at 8.4% that they're going back into their class, kids in their seat means that they are learning. It also means that funding streams, when funding streams are kids in seats, that equates to money. Okay, when y'all are looking at budgets. But kids don't learn if they're not in school. We have been working, Ms. Tanya and I were talking some about Medicaid billing. With the hearing and vision, we bill any student that we do a hearing and vision on that has Medicaid, we bill for that service. We bill Medicaid. And we also bill for what's called personal care. Personal care is a program for students that require the assistance of a caregiver to be with them throughout the day to provide, just daily assistance with daily care, with daily living, not education, but just to be able to get throughout the day, maybe pushing a wheelchair or that type of thing. And so we're able to bill for those services. Those two services combined, we have things that are pending at this point, but we have over $15,000 that are pending in Medicaid billing right now. Without your nurses, we wouldn't be able to do that, because that takes the nursing staff. That also takes your paraprofessionals to be able to do that as well. And I just encourage you to get to know your nurses. I encourage you to get to know your paraprofessionals. I feel like that we do a great job. Of course, I'm a little biased. But we want to do a great job for this district. It is our heart, is to take care of people, whether they are small or large. And we enjoy what we do. And we appreciate that you take care of us. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Those numbers that you were given, is that for all campuses, the 12,000?
That's the total.
Okay.
Now, that total does not include all of the COVID information. And it could be somewhat skewed because I'll just be honest, on days when we had a lot of COVID going on, there may have been visits that got put on paper but didn't get put into the computer system. So they are documented, but they're not into the computer system, so they didn't get pulled out to actually get put into that number. But there were days, and Ms. Timber can tell you, there were days that my room kind of looked like, there was papers all over the desk because, trying to figure out where each student sat.
Right.
Because in middle school and high school, students change rooms all day. Elementary and middle school is a little easier because they don't move around as much. But once they get up into the two up in the two upper buildings, they move so much that it takes us a little bit longer and it just takes more time. And so sometimes it's just easier just to write things down and then hope that we get back to put it into the computer. But as long as we've got it documented on paper, we're good.
So you said you was an RN?
Yes, sir.
What are the other nurses at the other schools?
They are licensed practical nurses.
LPNs, okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And that's just a difference in, the years that they've gone to school.
Right, yeah, I've got a son that's an RN. Just-
You do a great job. I appreciate it. She's taking care of me before.
Yes, a few times.
Appreciate the information.
Thank you. And anytime y'all have any questions, don't, just feel free to give us a call.
Thank you, ma'am. Up next, we have Harry with the transportation. He's gonna kind of update us on some plans, potential plans.
Little mirror news on
These are possibilities, these are.
These are, I don't want to make it
worst
freaked
case
out, this
scenarios.
is not what we're doing yet, but we have 35 routes between Huntsville and St. Paul, and we are currently 6 drivers short. So these are ideas that other schools have done or are using now. So, yeah, we can kind of discuss and see what everybody wants. You got one? The first one, the only thing that the State Department ever tells us, they don't require anything of the Transportation Department. They recommend don't pick up kids within 2 miles of our schools, which we do. That'd be all of our town kids. I don't like that one real well. That would probably knock out 350 to 400 kids with rural bus service. So I'm
That's the
not,
way it used to be when I was in school.
I do, yeah. Kind of give you an idea, it'd be like out to the golf course, the sewer plant, the whole entire Governor's Hill will get wiped out to the vet clinic, kind of just a big circle around the town. Nobody would have a bus service that way.
We don't have the crosswalks and.
No, walking would be, I mean, that knocks out all your apartments, all of our daycares. I mean, it'd be a lot of kids.
We don't have the infrastructure in the town to do that.
No, really.
And it would only.
It'd only take 2
Two
buses.
buses,
we only
two
have
routes.
two routes. That it would
So that
actually-
would still leave us 4 that.
4 short,
Yeah.
yes. Shortened routes, like our snow routes, this is the one I like the best. Being 6 down, we probably couldn't run it exactly like we run our snow routes, we'd have to do it with fewer buses. But I think we can reach the most people with number 2 there. It would still affect 350 to 400 kids, I mean, but it wouldn't be where they have no service, they would just have to maybe come a little further
the
to
main
get to a
road.
bus, yeah.
Let me ask you a question. When I first started driving in 78 or 9,
Mhm.
I can't remember when it was. All the people in the lunchroom and a lot of teachers was allowed to drive a bus and do that. Do they still do that?
Yes, we have maintenance men that do it, we have teachers, yes, yeah, it's still a possibility for
If
sure.
some of them was interested in it, I mean,
Yeah.
especially as tight as money as this thing.
Mhm.
I mean, if they wanted to, you get them trained up and get them a license.
Absolutely, yes, that's still a possibility. Number 3, with a staggered start, kind of keep bringing the young kids in early and maybe 45 minutes to an hour, the older kids start, but here, we're too big. I mean, our district is just huge, we've got over 700 miles, it doesn't really work for us.
Be burning twice the fuel because you'd have to run the routes twice.
And you'd have drivers working 10 hours a day just trying to do that.
You might have less drivers at that point.
Yeah, I don't think many would stick around for a 10-hour day. Some schools doing this, just say we've got our 28, 29, 30, however many routes we can cover, just the ones that don't have a driver, we just don't run that bus until we do get a driver. Don't love it, but that is something some places do.
Now, is there any route you can, that 2 buses or 3 goes by the same stop that you can kind of
That would
pack
kinda
them
be-
in some to kind of take up some
Yeah,
of the
that would be
slack?
like number 2, we kind of do that, yes.
Okay.
I'd have to reroute everything
Yeah,
and pick up where we can, yes. And then number 5, hiring aides, kind of stay at the cafeteria, and again, that would only help with our town routes, it wouldn't save us that much. I mean, we could make our town routes run 2 or 3 or 4 times, but again, you're saving 2 buses, so. Really, a mixture of maybe number 2 and number 4. Just number 4, where a route may not run, we're just short on subs too. Right now, it's me and one mechanic, we're pretty much it that we'd have for substitutes right now, so, and we can only go so far, fortunately.
Harry, what about, some of the routes that don't have very many kids, could you run a small bus? That way
We
you don't
might,
have to
I
have a
thought about that also, if anybody willing to run just a small bus. We don't have, a current route, there's none that have that few, but we could kind of divvy up
So
some.
near 116, you used to only have like 15 kids.
Yeah, there's a way to kind of, that would help, that would get us closer. We couldn't do an entire route on a small bus, but
Do you have specific routes that don't have a driver, or
yes, we do. We got, let's see here. Bohannon Mountain doesn't have a driver. There's a big chunk of Wesley, 295 from Wesley up towards Hinesville and Highway 45. We're needing a driver there. We're gonna need one of our special ed buses is gonna need a driver. I'm trying to think which one's that. We've got one out like towards Marble, we're gonna need to cover. We have two out towards Marble most likely. One of the 6 drivers, she's been having surgery. She wants to come back. We just don't think we'll have her at go time. It may be a few months down the line.
And what about I know there's people that have traveled from here to Springdale to drive a bus.
Yes,
Is there any possibility that we could increase pay and maybe attract?
we've looked at it, yeah, we just never quite got there.
Because to me, that would seem most reasonable, and maybe, obviously, driving the buses would cost quite a bit. Maybe that would be the cheaper, just to increase the pay.
Right, it is something we discussed.
How big a difference is there in the pay for driving to Springdale and driving the bus and driving one here?
It was about, last time I looked here a couple of years ago, I think it was about an $8,000 difference.
A
to
year,
start, yes.
$8,000
Yeah.
a year?
Yeah, pretty good chunk, yeah. Almost, I don't know if it'd be worth driving now, the way gas is.
Right,
but
so that's why I'm wondering if we could
Yeah.
increase it up
Make a little difference.
and make it where they're not having to drive
split the
there.
difference? Or, I mean, I saw, I think on social media the other day where we, Bailey did it, or put an ad out.
Yes, trying
basically
to get drivers.
Trying to get,
And we
have we
had-
had any hits on that?
We've had 4 apply in the last 2 weeks, and then I've also had 2 school employees hit me up this week, interested. So we're getting there, it's just training has gotten tougher. The tests are not any tougher, it's just the time that we have to train a driver. We're kind of getting to that point where we probably couldn't have them ready for opening day. I mean, it'd be tough.
But that would cut into the chunk of the 6 drivers that we
Yes, absolutely, yes.
That's
I'm
not-
hoping to get maybe at least in half of those 6, that'd be great. I mean,
Is the 6, is it all here?
it's 5 here and 1 in St. Paul.
One in St. Paul,
Yeah, which
okay.
we also kind of lost Gary Whitmore down there too. We've lost our number 1 sub down there, so it was almost like we're down 2 men down there, really just 1 route, but not really a substitute situation there.
I mean,
We can look at an increase in pay,
or an
But
incentive of some sort, or,
Yeah.
but it would.
Can I mention something though? When you start increasing one person on the salary schedule, like the bus drivers, you're gonna be paying them more than you would a parent. It's like our salary schedule is balanced and our classified staff really needs increases. Because we're getting to the point where our minimum wage is $11 an hour. We have several staff members that starting out pay is just $11.40, $11.60. But when you start zoning in a 1 and you put the money towards that person, well, then all these others go out of balance. Because each one, when the salary schedule was set up, it was set up based on qualifications and trainings that they needed to have in job duties. And actually, our bus drivers make, I mean, I could go pull the salary schedule and tell you,
I know.
but they make a pretty good wage compared to our other classified employees because they only work 5 hours a day is what their pay is based upon. So
Per hour, they make $12.32 a route driver does. A shuttle driver makes $12 an hour. I drive by and see signs for Fayetteville.
Oh, yeah, everybody's hurt.
Everybody's
Everybody's hurt.
everybody is looking for drivers. It's not a.
I think it's a
problem.
lack of people willing to work. I don't think it's a,
we're seeing it everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not
I mean,
just-
we're seeing it in our own personal business. I think everybody's seeing it clear across.
What is your biggest complaint when your drivers quit, Harry?
Kids,
Lack of discipline?
like this, yeah, pretty much.
That kind of falls back on our principals, doesn't it? If they don't get disciplined for stuff on the bus, then the bus drivers are quitting. we're gonna have to make the punishment fit the crime somewhere to get this evened out, because that's, I know when I drove, that was very frustrating.
It is.
You tell somebody you need to go sit down, they tell you to shut up. Well, my hand has trouble hanging on to something when some little kid tells me to shut up. But it did pretty good. I never did backhand one, but I really wanted to be honest with you. But yes, that is a big problem, and I've drove the bus, as you well know, and that is a big problem that I didn't know if it still was or not.
It is still up there, for sure.
Texas. Where's now the worst?
Well, I'm on the school board and can't get out.
So Harry, what do you think is our best option then if we can't?
Best option, I think a mixture of number two, try to lean number two as much as we can until we can get caught up. And I'd love to say, hey, it'll only take a month. I'd like to say we'll get back in here after Labor Day and hey, we're caught up. I don't know if it'll be that quick, but.
I mean, that's the one that stands out to me, would be the most feasible, just my opinion.
Well, and at the beginning of school, a lot of people bring their kids more often.
Right.
Correct.
Maybe that'll help out.
But it may be, which we've never done, we've been able to usually run all of our routes, but it may be number four where it's just to the point where we can't cover. It may be in the afternoon where, hey, we gotta get on the blackboard and call parents and say, gotta have you come get them. I mean, we're just out of options.
Well,
Hope we don't get there, but.
we had a lot of this last year where
We go home earlier.
the one route, the town route goes somewhere early.
And they can drive another route, yeah. Definitely use that again before we shut down an entire route.
And we just wanted you to be prepared and know what's happening. And this isn't a decision that has to be made by the board. We're just making you aware.
Then another, I don't know if everybody's, there's big news about electric bus grants. I kind of want to give y'all a summary on that too. It's not as great as I thought it would be.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question on these areas. Will they stay charged long enough to run some of your routes?
Town route would be, that's what I was gonna bring up.
Yeah, I
mean,
was just, that's because.
we could use on about two, right? I don't think there's anywhere in St. Paul that would be worth anything.
And we can't get a whole bus in.
But first I heard, okay, they're gonna give you $375,000 for a bus. I thought that would cover one, but it's about $450,000 for a bus, which is on there.
Wow.
The grant format, it's kind of it's really like a lottery. All the schools that apply, they kind of just pull you out of a hat. There's no guarantee. If we say, hey, we want to do this, we may not get it. What you have to do, you have to be willing to destroy a diesel bus that you used last year. It can't be an old sub you got laying around. It had to be on a route last year. We have to drill a hole through the engine block to show that it's destroyed. Never gonna pollute the earth again. So we have to get rid of one of those before we get one of these.
And then each charging station.
$100,000 to replace a battery every 5 years.
$250,000 for a charging station too, so that's $750,000 for a friggin' bus.
Exactly. $100,000 is for the slow and the overnight, takes about 10 or 12 hours. The quick charge is the $250,000, which you
They're
might be able
expensive.
to get. Yeah.
Battery's 55,000.
That's the thing. Once you've had this bus about 10 years and it's time for your third set of batteries, most people are just getting rid of them. It's just not, you don't want to put $150,000 into a 10-year-old bus. So I just don't think it's for us right now, to be honest.
No, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I just want to get that out there because I know there's a lot of talk about it.
I do think that's a pass on that one.
Yeah. All right.
So if you got hit up by why are we not pursuing these, that
Right.
there's a reason why we just wanted you to have that information.
Yeah, so we want to raise millage again.
I would like an update, whatever we decide to do about the driver shortage though, because I know we're gonna get phone calls as soon as the decision's made. That's
We've
the
got
first
our
thing's
big,
gonna happen, so.
we've got our big driver meeting August 3rd. I'm kind of hoping we can wait till then to really make this, just make sure everybody shows up. We might be worse off than we think or better off. But that's about kind of 2 weeks out from go time, probably where we make the decision.
Let me ask a question, I'm still a bus driver, I've got my license and everything, all I have to do is answer it. Since I am a board member, until he gets caught up, like an evening route or a morning route, would I be eligible to help him until he gets people hired? Is that a no-no? Is that
Legally, that's not a problem.
It's not a problem for me
It's
to
not
do
a
that?
problem. In fact, I thought that's how you got elected.
You really probably don't want to know how I got elected, since you're a lawyer. No, I'm joking. But okay, well, that would have to be something I would be willing to consider if I can work it out with my job, you know, because I'm kind of, but every Friday I'm off right now until November probably. So, you know, if you got a coach gone that drives or something, maybe I can help you some.
Great.
Yes, I got everything except for my in-service for school bus driver. You gotta do that certification every year too. I haven't done that in 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Moving to the school lunch report, last month we asked about raising our lunch prices. You did the 10 cent increase that was required. We went back and I gathered some information. The sheet that is on the very last part of the or next to last part of the section is statistics and the amount per month that costs and the amount of average per month is the very last one. So, if you look at it, the average total cost on the very bottom right-hand column, $26,000, $26,058.91. That is paid only. So that does not include the reduced amount, the difference between what we get reimbursed for reduced and what it costs the family. We would have to make that up as well if we were to pay for it. And then also, this is at $2.75 for lunches. Actually, there's the high schoolers 6 through 12, they pay $2.85 currently. So but most of our kids eat at the K through 5 or K through 6 area. So I felt like that, even though it's kind of a little bit of a low ball, it was pretty accurate for the most part. So I just wanted you to have that information in front of you. Not that we're making a decision or that I'm proposing anything tonight. The second part of that is, can we use federal funds or ESSER funds and the ESSER is the relief funds that we've been getting, the 3 installments that we've gotten over the last 4 years or 3 years for the COVID relief. Basically we asked the State Department said, you know what, we haven't been asked that, we're gonna have to go ask the federal government. And they technically haven't gotten back an answer yet for us. If you were to ask the State Department and the people in charge of federal programs there, they would say it's probably not gonna fly. It's probably not gonna be able to be used because the funds and the way it's described is to be used strictly or mainly for those students who are not at school because of illness or because of COVID or because of whatever. So the fact that we're asking to pay for kids who are at school out of that fund probably will not be likely, but we haven't gotten a final answer is where we left it at right now. So I say all that to say we can, if you want to approve a price increase based off of what I presented to you last month, you can, and I have a copy of that. I'd have to make a copy of it for you to give to you. And I'm fine with this, we can hold off for 1 more month, see if the state says anything, but we will have to make a decision come August 8th, no doubt. Because we have to have that published. I mean, we like for it to be in our handbooks. It would have to be in our handbooks by that time as well. So we can hold off for 1 more month and see where we are, and that's fine. I just wanted to give you the breakdown information of what it looks like to cost for this. So there's no motion, this is just information.
Right. But we should have an answer for sure on the other deal by the next meeting, maybe.
No, I can't guarantee that either, but we will have to make a decision.
This is the federal government, I doubt it.
I know I work for the state.
So anyway, unless there are questions, I just wanted you to have that information.
Well, should we go ahead, if it has to be in the handbooks, some handbooks have to be printed, or I guess we don't print them anymore, we just put it on the website so it's easier.
We put them on the website. We are doing policies right now so that we can have handbooks prepared and ready to go by August 8th. Technically, they still have to be approved by you. So
we still have time.
in theory, we could do both at the same time and that night have it ready to go. It's not ideal, but in theory, it can happen that way.
And it's only a week before school starts, so does that give you ladies time to get that done? And it's a lot on you guys.
Who's handling that?
Which part of it?
The handbook, the policy, getting all that compiled.
Building principals do their handbooks. And so, it's just a piece of information part of it.
And just get a
copy and paste.
So do we wanna go ahead and wait? The principals say that they're okay with waiting?
Yeah, they're okay.
You're not the CNA here?
I'm sorry,
CNA?
they're not.
They're not here. They did not. I thought they had confirmed, but apparently they did not. So we'll move on to the next item. The superintendent report, the district comparison, financial. As you can see, our expenditures are up as compared to last year. Our revenue for the month of June was down. We did receive more money in the month of May than what we typically do. Is that right?
That's good.
And I'm just making sure so we got a lot of our local tax revenue last month, and we just haven't received anything as of the date, or as of the date of this report for June, from our local tax. Questions about comparison? If not, I will go on to the administration reports. We did
Do you need
this.
to make a motion to accept that?
It's just information.
we did.
We don't do. Sorry. Took me a second, I think. We handled the administration reports a little bit differently. I asked them to fill out a 5-point form, up to 5 points. They didn't have to have 5 points. As part of that, that way you would be able to look over it. We're not necessarily putting them on the spot to try and report out everything, but you are more than welcome to ask them questions. If they want to highlight something, they are more than welcome to, but the purpose of having the report in writing was so that they could maybe give more detail than what they felt like they could in the short amount of time that we give them in here.
I really like that, Mr. Ferguson puts in here that we're gonna try to be part of the first Friday in August and have information for the public. There, I think that's a really great idea, reaching out. And I have a request on the test scores, that when they come out on August 1st, if there can be some sort of training for us as a board, what do those scores actually mean?
Okay.
Because if you got good scores just because they went up high, are they still stinky, but they just went up high? Or, how are those scores, what are they actually telling us about the kids?
Okay. aren't any other questions, we'll move on to the next item. Next section. New business. The first item, and these will require motions for new business, is the approval of new policies and policy updates each year and each specifically in legislative sessions. So get ready, because next summer we'll have it again with legislation coming on in January. The ASBA, the Arkansas School Boards Association, they take the laws that have been put in place by the legislature that affect education or somehow affect education, and they create the policies, the guidelines that all school districts can follow. They create model policies, and then they send them to us so that we can adjust them, or we can change, the name or the date or the whatever it may be. Most of what you have in these policies are adjustments of an old policy where they took out this name and put this other name, or they took out this acronym and they put in this other acronym. That's the majority of them. I kind of warned you about this when I sent the packet. We are going to pull for consideration policy 3.24 and 818. So when we make a motion, it would be for policies except for those two. And that was the policy that was about personal debts, and there was just some concern from
Garnishment of wages.
There was some current concern. There was some feedback from the PPC that told me that I didn't want to push that through or rush it through. Just some of the language they brought up, some of the things. So I wanted to take some time to be able to talk with them and not have to have it rushed through. So we will pull those two policies from consideration at this time, and then I will go back to PPC and we'll work through it. And so you might see it next month is what I'm trying to say. But right now we're going to pull those two for consideration. So we would entertain a motion to approve the changes to the existing policies and adopt the new policies that are listed, with the exception of 3.24 and 8.18.
Did anybody have any questions on the policies for you?
There was a couple of new ones that I was happy to see.
Yes. Well, Anna should we do this after the motion or discussion after the?
If you have questions about it, I think it should come before.
I thought it was really great that we were able to raise the base on teacher salaries, $1,108. That was exciting. I also was super excited to see for our classified people that we have added longevity steps or jumps at 20, 25, and 30. I thought that was really great.
Those were very good. The salary schedule is part of the new policies. And so, yeah, it was good to have those longevity in there. Everybody works hard here, and we want to try and reward them as best we can with the funds that we have. We do have, incentive, I guess you'd call it incentive pays coming up for this next school year as well that were approved a couple of months ago, retention and recruitment. Thank you. Recruitment and retention incentive pay that we use ESSER funds for, both for classified and for certified staff. Different ways of doing it, but close to the same amounts of funds that they would get, and then but in line for both of them.
You and I kind of talked a little bit briefly about somehow looking at SPED and seeing about, what's it called? Stipends for SPED. 'Cause I know there are several other schools that do stipends for sped and sped paras, and that might help. It's trying to keep some people, so something when we're making our budget, I would like us to look into doing that. We gotta get in here. Something I wanted, on the very first one, when it talks about if a candidate not filed from a zone with a vacancy, we need to have some clarification on that, because you never know when somebody's gonna get sick and have to sit down for something. Where does it have to be from the zone they're not in, or can it be an at-large?
It's my understanding when they're appointed, it can be at large,
But
but we
at
can
large.
call and verify for
Okay.
sure.
And just like
Remainder of
put it
that
in the
term.
policy, that way we have that
And it
in writing.
may be in the notes of it, I don't have that set in front of me,
Yeah,
but we can definitely access
Yeah.
that, and I'll email it to you.
it's just no,
Because at one point, there was a law, I don't know if it's changed, at one point, several years ago, they could not be from that zone. You couldn't appoint them from that zone. So I guess to give them like unfair advantage or something. So we need to know.
Can you add anything to that?
I'll be honest, I missed the context, I'm not sure the
so
point. I don't have what you have in front of
as
me.
part of our board representation on number 5, it says if a candidate has not filed from a zone with a vacancy, then the elected members of the school board shall appoint a member to serve until the next school election. So if somebody does have to step down for any reason, does the board appoint from within that zone or outside of the zone?
I would opine that they need to be from that zone.
We need to find out for sure.
I'll check with it.
We'll check and make sure.
So
Is that a Tamitha question, or is that a,
It should be a law.
We would, yeah, it would be back to law, but ASBA could verify for sure. I know historically it's been at large in this district, but as Ms. Timberg said, that law has changed in the past.
right,
I'll double check and email out to y'all.
like you,
It's gonna be controlled by statute. Your policy can't override the statute.
Right.
If you want, I'll look it up, but I think,
that's where one, just if it's a statute, it needs to be in our
Right.
policy.
yeah, I agree, the
so that
policy
we-
needs to reflect what the statute says,
Absolutely.
but. And I will give kudos to ASBA, they do a good job of bringing forth policies so that each of the local districts don't have the expense of trying to develop those on their own. And so their model policies are very good, and most of the districts that I represent use them, almost verbatim, quite honestly.
So we need the motion.
We need a motion, you want me to write down the 2 policies?
Yep.
I'll put it on this.
Okay. Yes. I have to describe
My
it.
handwriting's on.
We need I need a motion to approve the policies excluding policies 3.24 and 8.18. Go first,
I'll second.
and a second, all 4? Any opposed?
The next item is approval of our current internet safety and electronic device use policy. I'm going to kind of let Mr. Bailey Cotton speak to that one real quick.
Yeah, while you're looking over this policy, just a little backstory is, our district utilizes funds through the FCC and USAC called E-rate. And so what E-rate is it's a government program that allows us to buy certain technology, and they reimburse us 80% of it based on our free and reduced numbers. So what we're able to do is use it to pay for any of our cabling infrastructure, wireless access points, school technology that can be used to increase the connectivity and broadband for students. And so every year, per E-rate guidelines, we have to have board approval on these 2 action items. And so the first one is just the internet safety and electronic device use policy that just kind of covers, what we deem as, protection measures and, internet safety and use, and then what that misuse of the internet is. So that's here before you, so if you have any questions about that, please let me
It
know.
looks like I neglected to put that one in. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay, I'm sorry.
That's
It's
fine.
policy 4.29.
It was emailed to me, but it was.
And so, it's what's already in the handbook that they sign every year. And it's also our student electronic device and internet use.
Okay, I'm sorry, it is in there, I apologize.
Yeah, we have. Is this standard? I mean, is this?
It is.
This basically what we've done every year?
Mhm, It is.
So we're not adding anything?
No, we're not adding.
Anything?
The verbiage gets changed periodically, but for the most part, it's pretty standard.
Is it effective? Good, and I mean, is it?
It is, as effective as it can be.
Because I'm from the technically challenged generation, so I'll
Sure.
probably be asking you a few
Yeah.
questions on that.
It's definitely important that we have this because it gives us leverage to fall back on if it is misused.
Yes, good.
So that's the first one, so you guys can, if we can have a vote on that.
I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Alright, the next item is in that same vein is, we also have to have a action item voted on for our internet content filter solutions. So these, there's hopefully a little handout in there that just kind of covers what we use for, our content filters for our Chromebooks. Any internet connected device, whether it's a personal device that you come and bring on our networking connect, or if it's a student Chromebook. We use one program called Cisco Umbrella. It is provided to us by the Department of Information Systems, free to all state districts. And so that is a base level, and it does a good job. And then we take it a step further and use a program called GoGuardian. And that is what we use to filter our Chromebooks. It gives teachers access to be able to manage Chromebooks in their classroom. If they can control what the students are accessing in the classroom. If they see that they're not, accessing something they shouldn't be, they can close the tabs, they can turn off the internet access for the Chromebooks. The feedback we've received from the teachers on that is it's been a great tool in their classroom for management. Also, this last year, we rolled out a feature of the GoGuardian called the Parent app. And it gives parents access to view their child's history for the last 30 days. They can, if outside of school hours, so outside, I think I have it set 7:30 to 4, you can filter the students' Chromebooks. So if you don't want them to have any internet access at all, then you can turn that off, that's your right. But once it is within school hours again, then we take back over control. The Chromebooks would still be filtered, don't get me wrong, outside of school hours, but it would just give you another layer to that. If you wanted to, block streaming sites or something that we allow outside of school hours, then you could do that as a parent.
That's something that we started last year?
Yeah, it's something that we rolled out last fall. And that was one of the things that we're hoping to also advertise on that first Friday night is, just get that information out there for parents, because we handed it out. I think we tried to hand it out at open house, but yeah, and it's something that we're just continuing to try to advertise and promote to parents, that's a resource and a tool that they have access to.
Is there like to say a parent, is there a certain login that they use
So-
for that filter, or is it something that you have to do as a?
No, so it is determined, it's, the parent account is registered with whatever email address we have for you tied to your student. So for every student, there's parent contact information, and in there is a field to be able to put the parent's email address. And so whatever email address we have in there is the account that's registered to that. And so there is an app, and when you download the app, it'll ask you for your email, you put that in, and if it detects that there's a valid email address for you, then there's a verification process to go through. So I'd say if a parent tries to access it and they are unsuccessful, then first step would be to contact the school and make sure that they have the right email address entered, or some parents don't have an email address entered at all.
This is not anything new as far as
No, this
needing
is,
more money for
no,
this?
this is nothing new, this is
Okay.
just something that we've been utilizing for the last few years.
I need a motion to approve the school district's internet content filters.
I'll make a motion.
All of four? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Next item is the approval of purchasing bus camera systems. We are looking to place camera systems on 43 of our buses. I think I originally put out 47, but that was my mistake. The expense is being paid through federal funds that we've got, ESSER funds. It's $255,313. It does have a 5-year warranty. It is a 7-camera system with sound, and it has a lot of bells and whistles that go above and beyond and started when my career was, when we had a couple of buses that had video tape recorder underneath the driver's seat and a camera somewhere on the bus. So I mean, this would be a good system to have on all our buses.
So these are you're gonna have a shooting at you down the highway, the camera's positioned,
A 360-degree.
and they'll go looking at the door.
Yeah, you'd have one out the front glass, one kind of over the driver's head looking out the door.
Will it also observe the driver on their cell phone and stuff?
Where you can see cell phones
Absolutely.
running their lines. You'll have one kind of midship catching kids, one in the back catching kids, and then you've got one out the driver's window that helps when traffic running our stop signs, running our red lights, helps with catching license plates.
Are these systems monitored by you or?
Now, when the bus gets back to the bus lot, then it downloads over Wi-Fi. I don't think it has live capability, Bailey, or am I right?
It has the ability to add a SIM card if we wanted to view it live, but the way that it currently would work with this proposal is that whenever it gets back to the bus barn, it'd connect to Wi-Fi and download the footage to the cloud, and then that would give whoever we deem, Mr. Spurlock or whoever, access to be able to view that footage.
How long does it save the footage? Like if we got some drivers that still take them home to save fuel, right?
I believe it was 2 weeks.
So
Well, I
it's not gonna lose it sitting there overnight if we have a big snowstorm or something and something has happened.
At the moment, it's gonna be close to 30 days.
Okay.
And granted, that's based on 4 or 5 hours of regular drive time a day. So the activity buses may be a little bit less than that, they go for longer hours.
Right.
And what's the lifespan of these, or warranty, or?
Well, the warranty is, for this system, is 5 years. And so this proposal before you, it includes licensing for 5 years. So unless we add buses, add camera systems to new buses, we won't have to spend anything more for 5 years. So in the standard for the warranty, all of that also was either a 1 year or a 3 year option. And so the fact that they warranty these for 5 years, I think is really great.
This covers installation also, right?
Yes, it does.
Does it cover training with that?
It does, yep.
And who gets trained on these?
So it would be, obviously Mr. Spurlock and myself and whoever else that, we want that would need access to the cameras.
Right.
But we would probably do the initial training, and then, we could work with whoever, if we had more people or principals throughout the time, whoever handles bus discipline.
Do I have a motion to approve the purchase of a bus camera system?
I make a motion to approve the bus cameras.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All approved? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next we have the approval of anticipated purchase of technology department vans. We're looking to purchase up to 2 utility vans for the technology department to replace the ones that one is a 1994 van. I think there were pictures involved in it that were sent to you of the vehicles we're looking to replace. The other is a 1999, if I remember right. This is the ability, so I want to make sure I clarify this. This is the ability to purchase those vehicles. Doesn't mean that we have to, and it doesn't mean that we have to do 2. If we get prices back and they're higher than what we expect, we can do none. We can do, and I know Harry and Bailey don't want to hear that, but we can do 1. We can do what we see fit. We're just seeking approval for up to 2 at that amount of $70,000. What you have behind that proposal or that summary is what dealerships will, basically say that they'll cost.
But we'll use the state's purchasing,
The state's purchasing is right now is much lower than what you're
Right.
seeing there.
and that's who we will use to
Oh,
purchase
yes.
these.
Yes, and as what was explained to me, there's not any vehicles right now for them to be able to sell, and they're in that process of renegotiating their contracts for these.
So it will be a little higher than that 25, most likely. I'm hoping it's under 30 still. We're just kind of waiting to see. They think they'll have it all sorted out mid-August, early September.
And when we're sitting here talking about $70,000 for these vehicles, are we including fitting these things out with what you need for day-to-day, like racking, ladder racks, whatever you
Yeah.
guys need? Is that going to be included in this price?
Yeah, we anticipate being able to utilize a lot of the infrastructure that we already have on these older vans and just moving that over to newer ones.
I mean, that gets expensive.
Yeah, I appreciate you thinking about that, but yeah, that's our goal, just to keep costs down, and we feel comfortable with just moving that, make that transfer over.
And Bailey, would you give the number of how many
Oh, sure.
devices?
Yeah, so, these vans are utilized heavily throughout the district, and honestly, the way we acquired them is kind of because they were already on their way out the door as it was. And so we asked to use them, and now it's just kind of getting to the point that they're hard to fix, and we need something newer. But we easily have over 5,000 different devices of technology, whether you consider 3,000 Chromebooks, 300 laptops, every room's got a wireless access point, camera, projector. We do our own access control. So these things see a lot of mileage, just even in town between campuses.
Just for a ballpark and kind of sum this up, what are you spending a year keeping them on the road, Harry? Just a ball,
Yeah,
I mean,
tires,
something that
everything,
don't,
probably 2-3 grand. I mean, something will go wrong. I mean, they're just old. They really are.
right, and the older they get, the harder it's getting to find parts for them,
Absolutely.
right? I mean,
Yes.
especially the availability, cause
Yeah.
everybody's building new parts, they're not building old ones anymore.
Right.
And the funding for these is coming from that
Well-
department or?
No, it's coming out of our operation.
Okay.
Right now.
And speaking from experience, I'm very grateful to our technology department, because if you planned a whole lesson around technology, it's like your hair is on fire when it doesn't work, and you're just like, and you call immediately, and they are great to come as soon as possible. And I have to say, unless it has been absolutely impossible, they do come almost as soon. So they're gonna use this equipment, they're gonna get out, and they're not like hiding somewhere, they come and help us. I don't know how they do it, but they do. It's nice.
Has anybody give y'all a projected availability on these if you decide to go?
Ford, I got to talk to last week, he can't even order one until, I wanna say he was gonna have a window in late August, I believe, when he could order, and then you're probably looking at 4 to 6 months before they even get here.
So realistically, we're
We're a ways
probably
out.
looking at next school year, next summer before we ever.
At least next semester,
Right.
probably minimum.
We put it on this agenda in case that
Right.
came out in between now and the time in August when we're.
Well, I make a motion that we purchase technology vans.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of our department, I thank you. They will get well used, I promise.
The next item is the approval of transfer of funds for construction payment. We are seeking a transfer of $1,056,538.37 from our bond account at Cornerstone to our operating account at Harvest to cover the current activity center expenses. The bills that were associated with it are in that package. But this is a not necessarily a monthly occurrence, but it's a pretty frequent occurrence with the
construction. Bailey, where are we sitting at right now?
On what? Oh, progress?
New activity.
Well, the video board system got into this week, and that's really gonna be something that's really gonna be a showstopper. They got the scoreboards in last week, we, got all the speakers hung, and we tested the speakers. The lighting control system will hopefully be in sometime in July. And the wood floor got delivered today for the court flooring, they're gonna start that later this week. And bleachers actually come in tomorrow, so they're gonna start that later this week as well.
Right on along then.
It is.
Great. We still looking to hit on time?
October.
Good, they're coming, yeah, good.
They won't ever say that we can.
Tentatively.
Well,
Yeah, no, but you're right.
They always say we're still looking at October.
Right, so,
But we were in November, so we
Yeah.
moved
Good.
it back a little bit.
good.
So can I get a motion to approve the transfer of funds for construction payment?
I'll make a motion.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed?
The last item for action is the approval of the renewal of property and vehicle insurance. This is our annual renewal that we do for basically for our property and vehicle insurance. Pretty self-explanatory. There are two entities that you can purchase this from. One is the State Department, the other is ASBA. Ours is through ASBA, if I remember right. The price did go up, and I will point you to the last page. Yeah, the last page that Ms. Shackelford did kind of a comparison to let you see how much it did go up. It went up quite a bit, but we do have we have another facility added to it. They did away with some discounts that we're kind of assuming that they did away with everybody. And then, it's just the cost of doing business right now as much as anything. So, but I would request that you approve that proposal.
Can I get a motion to approve the renewal of property and vehicle insurance? Glenn, second? Shane? All in favor? Any opposed?
Section 7 is transfer requests. Each month we do the transfer requests of students. We have 2 transfer requests from Huntsville to another school district. Those are listed there for you. Neither of the students who were listed were currently enrolled. And there was no reason given for the request. You really can't ask, but if they offered up, we'll let you know. But I would ask that you approve those 2 transfer requests as presented.
Approval of transfer request. Mr. Village first. Mr. second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is section 8. This is personnel, resignation, hires, transfers. Typically, do it as it's on your agenda, I'm sorry. The names are, I should write the names are. In general, we do that as a motion to approve.
You're gonna do all of them at once, or you're gonna do them all at once?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna step out,
Okay,
I'm not gonna vote.
yes, sir.
It's a
If I stay, it's a no vote, right?
If you're abstaining, and don't want to be part of the discussion, you want the record to reflect you have abstained and left for this discussion, that's appropriate, yes. You don't have to leave though.
I'm just related to somebody on there.
I just would encourage you not to vote. Now, if there was an executive session involved, you couldn't participate in the executive session, you couldn't participate in the vote. But I don't think you have to leave the room. It's up to you.
Sorry, I'm not related.
But is he correct in When you abstain, it's a no vote?
Well, I mean, that's the effect of it. If there's not a majority voting yes, because the abstention doesn't count in favor. So yes, that has the general effect of being no vote.
Just gonna go ahead. So I would ask that there is a motion to approve personnel resignations, hires, transfers, and removal.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, I'll go ahead and read these off.
Pretty excited about a few of those.
And I'm gonna read, some of these are pending, because their dominoes have to fall when it gets to this timeframe, from different districts to different districts. Resignation certified, Paige Urban, Watson Primary, pre-K teacher, 6/30/22. Sarah Chapel, Huntsville High School English teacher, 6/30/22. Pending Rogers School District hiring on 7/18/22, which is at their board meeting next Monday. Courtney Smith, St. Paul High School agricultural teacher, 6/30/22. Heather Thompson, St. Paul Elementary and High School music teacher. That is as of today, 7/11/22. Pending P Ridge School District hiring this evening. Classified, Tiffany Chadwell, transportation bus driver, 6/30/22. Hires, certified, Sherry Baldwin, Huntsville Middle School ALA teacher, 7/1/22. Rocky Bell, Huntsville Intermediate School teacher, 7/1/22. Jennifer Munson, Huntsville Intermediate teacher, 7/1/22. Mary Amanda Hafner, I think I said that right, Huntsville High School English teacher, 7/19/22. This is pending the approval of resignation of Sarah Chapel and Green Forest contract release on 7/19. So those two things have to happen before this hire takes place. Anthony Tony Hafner, Huntsville High School special education teacher, 7/19/22, pending contract release by Green Forest on that date. James Justin Harris, Huntsville Middle School teacher, head junior high boys basketball coach, had a .27 index on 7/1/22. Keisha Whittle, Watson Primary Pre-K teacher, 7/1/22. Did I say your name right? Keisha, I'm sorry, Keisha Whittle. Classified, Manuel Alfredo Mercado, Watson Primary is where he will be located. Spanish interpreter, ESOL paraprofessional, 185-day contract, 7/1/22. Evala, I think I said that right, Evala Mercado, Huntsville High School ESOL migrant paraprofessional, 185-day contract, 7/1/22. Transfers, certified, Elizabeth Watkins, Huntsville High School counselor to Huntsville High School assistant principal, 245-day contract, 7/1/22. Paige Patterson Eggman, Huntsville High School teacher to Huntsville High School counselor, 210-day contract, 7/1/22.
That's intermediate.
Sorry, intermediate, I apologize. I'm just zipping right through. Jana Beaver, Huntsville Middle School special education teacher to Huntsville. Middle school, sorry, transpose those letters. English teacher, 7/1/22. Amanda Vines, St. Paul Elementary teacher to St. Paul special education teacher, 7/1/22. Richard Scott, St. Paul Elementary High School special education teacher to Huntsville Intermediate School special education teacher, 7/1/22. And no transfers on the classified.
Yeah.
Section 9.
I have a comment. I feel I have to make this comment based on the phone calls I've gotten and the fact that we can't talk to each other. First, I would like to thank the people that supported me and voted for me. I know that like me, they're hoping for positive change for our school, our kids, our teachers, and our community. The statement I'm about to make is not on behalf of the entire board, but rather in my individual capacity as board member to the people that elected me. I know that you want changes. Some of these changes the board can help make happen. I feel confident the majority of this board will do everything it can to see that our district moves forward in a direction that is in the best interest of students and staff. I attended a new school board member training session recently and learned a lot about my role as board member, including the importance I should place on building trust with other board members. It will be hard for me to trust board member Dwayne Glenn after recent events that have occurred between him and the former superintendent, who is now our current director of personnel and program compliance. I believe these actions create a conflict of interest on behalf of Mr. Glenn. Mr. Glenn and our former superintendent and current director of personnel and compliance were found by police under a bridge on the night of May 24th, just 5 days after Mr. Glenn voted along with former school board members to offer her a new contract. The new contract falls under the Arkansas Teacher Fair Dismissal Act. Terminating someone's employment under the law is difficult. A police report and a video of the incident occurring under the bridge shows Mr. Glenn has what I believe to be a conflict of interest and adds to the embarrassment that Mr. Glenn has caused the district. He has stated that he will neither resign nor recuse himself from votes on matters pertaining to the former superintendent. I need the community to know that the board has no authority to dismiss or terminate any other board member. By law, voters in the Huntsville School District cannot recall a school board member. At this time, the best we can hope for is that Mr. Glenn will see how his actions have hurt the school district and therefore the children of this district, and take action or actions that will help this board once again gain the trust of this community.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn, correct?
Take a motion to adjourn.
Does anybody have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?